that trade.
Oh, Jason.
Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Ken can take the stage, ready to play. Weekdays at 10, the cars and the scene. Coffee in hand, they're living the dream. Aggression in the voice, got the whole town awake. Bringing fire to the mic, make no mistake. Shows in the corner, spitting out facts. Dropping truth bombs, ain't holding back. Ken in the morning, feel the heat. From 10 a.m. CST, can take a seat. We live and loud, that break in the mind. Ken and the bold. Light up your speakers, crank up the sound. They're talking about life upside down. Opinions exploding like a sonic blast. In the studio, they're built to last. With passion and grit, they engage and ignite. Every single week, they're a force can fight. From sports to politics.
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Ken in the Morning. And of course, we got, it was going to be a show with this many guys to begin with, but it's a big day. We got, of course, Ken the Packer fan, who's all decked out on not normal deck out in Packer gear. I wonder why. Of course, we got Ralph Williams from RW Media here today. We got our own Timu. Yes, I said, yeah, it's the Timu. There we go. Joe Rogan. Joe is here, of course, to get this morning as normal. And coming out from the West Coast, from the Californias, the People's Republic of California, but also a Green Bay Packer fan. Jason, good morning, folks. How you doing?
Good morning.
Hey, go Pack, go, and welcome to the show, buddy.
All right, it's great to be here. Thank you. And welcome, everybody.
So I guess there was a trade yesterday that got a certain Packer fan or two happy.
A certain Packer fan or two. Ken, I already told you yesterday, even though you said it wasn't going to happen, I'm going to need a change of underwear for today, and I do.
I'll tell you what. And one more, we'll add one more to the show today. Because let's even this out a little bit. Welcome to the show, Broski Bear, because I know he wants to talk trade. I'm still sharing this out to the Twitterverse. Good morning, Bill.
So
okay, so Michael Parsons trade. First off, let me before I turn it over to Ken here and we roll the panel. I think a lot of us on the panel didn't think it was going to happen because of everything that everyone talked about for the last couple of weeks with Jerry, the history between the two teams, and everything else. I will say this: I was surprised, probably like everyone else was. What even surprised me more is the news that this trade was completed last week, and the only reason that wasn't announced till yesterday was they were waiting on the contract with Green Bay to be negotiated. So that Freaka Micah Parsons post that was on X, someone had a major follow-up in the Green Bay organization and let something slip they shouldn't have. So I don't want to put bad news in with the good for Green Bay, but Green Bay has a leak, and I guarantee you they're going to be looking to seal that as they rejoice this trade. Ken, I'll throw it over to you next for your view.
Oh, absolutely. I knew as soon as it started going crazy, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday night with all the rumors there, with how much traction we were getting with it. And not even just from the fans, we were starting to get media pundits talking about it, and some of them saying that it had legs. This one felt a lot different than the other trade rumors that we'd have of, we were in on it for that guy. There is no more in on it. It was, let's pull this trigger, let's get it done. And let me say, this is a beautiful start to Ed Policy's reign.
What do you think, Ralph?
Well, I got to say, the Steelers were involved in this too. Steelers didn't want to give up the what I call the MASH squad and Highsmith. All right, if they could have gave up Highsmith and a couple number one picks for Micah Parsons. Can you just imagine Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt on the same field at the same time? Wow. All right, but see, the Steelers didn't look at it that way. They wanted to keep Highsmith, and Highsmith is a MASH case. He's hurt every year. Now he's hurt again with that groin injury, okay? The same one that he's been hurt the last 2 years, and they're paying him big money. I would have got him out. I would have gave him 2 first-round picks and found ways of getting other draft picks and stacking up the draft picks and getting them ready for next year for the draft in Pittsburgh. But the Steelers didn't look at it that way. And now Green Bay has them, and good for Green Bay because then they can move on and they can have a good defense with him and whatever other defensive players they have. So now their defense has gotten better. And, you know, it's going to be the same old in Pittsburgh with our defense.
Joe or Broski?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look at it from Jerry Jones' perspective a little bit and understand his thought process here, because the initial trade offer that was out there was that Green Bay offered 2 firsts, a second, and a 5th, which, you know, if I'm Jerry Jones, you know, and supposedly that was turned down. So if I'm Jerry Jones, I'd be like, all right, throw in a 4th round draft pick, give us another draft pick, and it's done, right? My point is, I much rather have like the 2nd and 5th round draft pick than Kenny Clark and his, you know, big contract. I mean, that's the part that's kind of puzzling to me. I think it's you know, I think the Fudgies, I think they fleeced the Cowgirls here. I really do.
Hey, what's up there, Joe? What's your thoughts?
The Cowboys are never going to win a Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
Until Jerry is gone, like, just forget about it, dude. I mean, like, I get trading Parsons. Like, he didn't want to be there, right? But you trade him to the team that's been knocking you out of the playoffs. You could have traded him to an AFC team and probably got a bigger haul.
Yes.
Jerry is unfortunately experiencing like the Al Davis effect, you know, the last few years of Al's life, you know.
And did I not just say that he was reminding me a lot of Al Davis at the end a few days ago or a week ago?
Yeah.
So
And that's not to say anything bad about Al Davis. Like, he just, you know, the game passed him by. He went senile, but Al Davis was a genius, you know. Like, Al Davis was a legend.
So Jason,
Jerry's not that.
So Jason, we talked on Tuesday, and none of us thought this was going to happen.
Right.
So you're sitting out there in the wonderful California sun yesterday, and this news hits you. What were you thinking?
To be honest with you, Ken, I was initially stunned because in the day and the hours leading up to the announcement of the trade, I was monitoring my Twitter feed and monitoring, you know, all the popular channels like Yahoo Sports, ESPN, just to see what was, you know, floating around out there. And when I saw that the Packers had actually signed Nick Neiman, whom the Chargers had cut, I was thrown for a loop. I said, okay, I guess this means that they're not in on Micah then, that the price was too high, that Jerry wanted too much, or whatever happened. And so when they signed Nick Neiman, not a sexy sign, but when they signed him, I said, okay, this is then probably Brian Gutekunst just playing it safe and moving on. And then lo and behold, I check a few hours later, boom, Micah Parsons traded to Green Bay. I was stunned because, again, when they signed Nick Neiman, I wasn't irritated that they didn't get Micah because I honestly thought it was going to be a 50-50 proposition that they were going to trade for him, given that, like what Ralph said, Pittsburgh was in on him, New England was in on him, a couple of other teams were too. And so if they did get him, great. If not, I wasn't going to cry about it because there are still other quality players on that roster that can make a good football team. But then when it went down, I was just like everybody, like my fellow bearded Packer fan here. I was just giddy. I was ready to don the cheese back on the head. So, yeah, it caught me by surprise, Ken. I'm excited that it happened, and I agree with everybody else. I think Green Bay marched out brilliantly with this trade because some friends of mine were texting me saying, how the heck can you guys give up 2 first-round picks? I'm like, well, very simple. The Packers don't make their success off first-round picks. They're excellent at drafting in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds and finding those quality picks later in the draft. So Brian Gutekunst, knowing, and Ed Policing knowing their history of success in evaluating, scouting, and developing talent in the later rounds, said, hey, if we can get a once in a generational type player in Micah Parsons for 2 first rounds, and we can pawn Kenny Clark, an over the hill veteran, off on Jerry, let's do it. And so, yeah, I was shocked. Glad it happened. So yeah, I'm on cloud 9 right now. Being realistic about it, I'm on cloud 9.
So
Can I just throw something out there?
I'm going to give the Green Bay Packers some credit, and I did it before this trade actually even happened. Remember when we just heard they even made the initial offer, because the Packers don't do this, right? It's not in their DNA. They don't go shopping, sending out first round picks for anything, except for offensive linemen that they put in Ken's garden in the backyard to grow. And this is the biggest trade probably in the last 3 decades the Packers have ever made. And no, the Minister of Defense was not traded for. He was a free agent, for those who don't know the history. Because everyone said, oh, but what about when they got Reggie White? That was a free agent signing. I mean, the Favre trade was big, but at the time, people thought it was an insignificant trade. This is the biggest trade the Packers have pulled the trigger on since they tried to get Khalil Mack in 2018. They don't do this, not in their DNA. So let's look at what the Packers have done over the last 2 years with Gutekunst. Okay, they spent big money in free agency last year. They drafted a wide receiver for the first time in 2 decades in the first round, and then they pulled this trade off, which literally, I won't say everyone, but the majority of people, to include all of us here, thought this trade isn't going to happen. Ken was hoping. He's like, I'm gonna buy some new drawers if I need to, but yeah, I mean, Jerry's not that stupid, is he? I mean, we were all kind of like that, and then yesterday it's like, holy crap! Now look at that. There's a huge upside, and everyone's like, holy crap! Green Bay's got their defense. They're now all of a sudden. By the way, Lion fans are mad today because they're now not the favorites to win the division. And rightfully so. Green Bay is, right.
Yeah,
So-
some teams can. They got to think outside the box now, and it looks like Green Bay's starting to do that. Steelers are doing that as well. I didn't expect them to get rid of George Pickens. They ended up trading him to Dallas. So a lot of these teams now in Green Bay, Steelers, they have their set standards about how they do things,
Right.
And now they're thinking outside the box here and doing some different things. Like Omar Khan, our GM, they call him the Con Man because every time you turn around, he's pulling off some amazing deal or trade or
Well, here's where I was going though, and Jim, this is where I was going to as well a little bit. So look at the Packer fans. You should be ecstatic, like really ecstatic. You got a baller, right? And you gave a ton of money. The draft picks are insignificant, like Ken said. You guys don't really. And Jason said the first round picks. I think any team would have been willing to give that up. The Bears would have done it. The Raiders would have done it. We've all done it. It's the money piece now. Now, a bunch of guys came. I said this is great for the Packers, but this is an all-in move because they're now in win now because they're about to be in cap hell, which the Bears just got out of. Thank God. Which our cap hell is created by. Once again, that Khalil Mack trade, the one that the Packers tried to make, but we got instead, right? So they're all in. So the question is, and Lions fans are mad, and Bill's asking, okay, well, who cares about previous rings? They're not discussion. We're talking about rings that are going to happen. Do the Green Bay Packers, where does this put them in terms of being able to, are they all in, or do they still, and if they're all in, they're all in. How long is this window, right? And and what this means, and there's the secondary. Thank you, Orlando, for bringing this up too. I'm sorry, guys. What does this mean for them with Hutch? I mean, $47 million. Hutch is going to want 50. Man, contracts are getting out of control. Go ahead, Ken.
With the way that Green Bay's contracts are staggered along, yes, that means we're going to lose some players, but a lot of these players were guys that there was a good chance they weren't going to get another contract anyway. I think this almost spells the end of time for Romeo Doubs in Green Bay, possibly Watson too. I definitely think Rasheed Walker will be gone next year. But with Green Bay being a draft and develop team, that leads you to not worry so much. Along with, we see how much the cap is increasing every year, as long as we don't do anything stupid after this, we should be okay. It's not like we're going to have a shit ton of money to spend, but we'd still have a little bit.
What about where's that? Joe says Jacobs is gone too. Where do you think that? Where does that leave them with Jacobs?
Oh, I still think.
No, I didn't say. I didn't say Jacobs. I said Jenkins. I saw an ESPN piece yesterday where they were breaking down the trade and the ramifications of the trade for the Packers financially. And according to ESPN, the odds are good that they're going to lose Elgton Jenkins over this as well.
There's a possibility that we could, in depending on how well Elgton Jenkins does at center, is going to be whether we're going to invest a whole bunch of money into him going forward. But the center position's a little bit fluid here in Green Bay to start with, since you got Jenkins switching over to center now. We do have Monk in the pipeline, but I still think that if they want Jenkins on this team bad, they will find a way to do it, especially with Russ Ball managing the cap.
I just wanted to throw something out there, like, because Ken the Bear fan has brought this up, and I never really noticed it until now, but I kind of agree with Ken on this. It's funny how, like, yesterday, 5 before the Micah Parsons trade, Kenny Clark was a Pro Bowl player, and he was one of the better DTs in the league, right? One of the probably top 5 nose tackle. But now he was an aging veteran that is over the hill, and he's on his way out. Like, where's the Kenny Clark love from yesterday?
I'll give you, he's an aging veteran, but he is still one of the better defensive tackles in the league. That's all I wanted to hear, because I was going to say I'm not changing my position on that. I hear a lot of Packers fans saying, like, oh, Kenny Clark, he was aging, he's over the hill, and this and that. The dude made the Pro Bowl last year. Like, what more do you want? Last year was also a down season for him statistic-wise, too, after we gave him that big third contract.
Hey, Ken, your Packer buddy Bill's not doing you favors. Like, as you're saying one thing, he's basically saying exactly what Joe just said, while what you're saying, I agree with more. But Bill, being a consummate Packer fan, diehard Packer fan, is basically feeding right into what Joe said. Now, let me say this in all fairness, though. Conversely, the Cowboys are sitting there, Jason, going, yeah, but our coaches in the building, the feeling was that Micah lost the desire to play, and he was half-assing it, and blah blah blah, and all this other trash that is coming out of Dallas, how they basically are looking at this as we got better because we got rid of Micah. I'm like, come on, man.
What I love is the narrative.
I'd be thinking the same thing.
What I love is the narrative that they're running with, that Micah Parsons was a locker room cancer. You didn't hear anything bad about Micah Parsons until he got into this spat with Jerry Jones.
I know. That's why I was asking Jason about it.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that.
It's okay, Ken.
Yeah. So here's my response to Jerry's response about the trade. If Jerry Jones really believed what he just said, he would have pulled the trigger on this trade back in March, when A, he had a lot more leverage to work with heading into the draft. B, he could have leveraged a lot more draft picks for Micah Parsons heading into the draft. And also, too, I think that I disagree with Jerry where he says, or others when they say that this is a Herschel Walker type trade. From what I recall, the Cowboys got a ton more draft picks for Herschel Walker than they did in this one. So this trade will not be as impactful in the long run as the Herschel Walker deal was. Also, the Cowboys, look, say what you will about the Cowboys. They've done a decent job at evaluating and drafting and developing some good young players. Micah Parsons is a good example of that. But still, there are no guarantees that they're going to be able to strike pay dirt with these draft picks that they got. So Jerry is not only insulting his fan base by telling them this makes them better with this trade. B, he's lying to himself. C, he's lying to his fan base, because he said back in March, we're all in with Micah. He's not going anywhere. He's saying a Cowboy. And then
yes, exactly.
Yeah, doing, and we've all heard this because it's all been on the national radio and everything else like that. But even before then, we could clearly see that this was the proverbial line drawn in the sand by Jerry Jones. And you know what? Micah Parsons and his agent crossed that line. They did something that doesn't happen a lot to Jerry. They won. Jerry controls his players. What Jerry wants, Jerry gets. Well, this time he didn't get what he wanted. And you know what? He did the right thing. He just did it at the wrong time. He should have pulled the trigger on this deal back in March rather than August 26th or 27th, whatever date right now.
The 28th. Well, actually, they said the trade was agreed to last week, and they basically had to just wait for Green Bay and Micah to agree on the extension. But Ralph, I mean, okay, I don't want to minimize 2 first-round picks because, I mean, 2 first-round picks can go a long way. You know, you can get 2 – you can set yourself up with 2 picks. As an outsider of not just the division but the conference, how do you see this trade impacting?
Well, I see it impacting both teams. Dallas took a cancer off our hands in George Pickens, which I didn't really want the Steelers to trade because him and DK Metcalf would have made a great pair for Aaron Rodgers to throw the ball to. But Pickens was a locker room cancer as well, and showing up late, not coming to games, not showing up for practice. So now he's Jerry Jones says he got rid of a cancer. Well, he now has another cancer. He's got George Pickens. That's another cancer. So, you know, what in the world is he thinking when he says Micah Parsons was a cancer? Well, so is George Pickens. So, I mean, you got 2 now instead of 2 cancers, you're down to 1, which, you know, but I think it impacts Green Bay very well because now it enhances their defense and it makes their defense tougher. Okay. Dallas, on the other hand, is a dumpster fire. That team is horrible down there. I'm not sold on Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach. And I feel bad for him because he got to deal with Jerry Jones and shouldn't have took that job to begin with. All right. Look, Jerry Jones has run out some very key coaches over the years. Bill Parcells, the Jimmy Johnson. You know, it's sad that Jerry Jones is going to be Jerry Jones, and that's the end of it. And that's the impact on that. And you know what? Dallas is going to be behind the 8 ball now for another 5 years maybe or something like that because of this trade.
What do you think of Jason?
Actually, I just wanted to answer a question that I saw in the chat from Bill T. He asked me earlier, what do I think of the Packers linebacking situation now with the addition of Parsons? Because their linebackers, were good, were solid last year, but not great. Bill, the answer to your question is I love it. I think Micah overall is going to make them better because when you look at the depth of our linebacking core, we have Edgerrin Cooper there on the edge. We have Isaiah McDuffie, who's still a great young talent and emerging. We still have Quay Walker, who is a great young talent and emerging. So you have now a linebacking core that's going to be a whole lot better with Micah Parsons in there. And another thing, too, about Micah that we're kind of, overlooking here a little bit is that he can defend the middle of the field as well as he can rush a passer. So right now, Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator right now, has carte blanche to mix and match these guys any way that they want. And the Packers had a difficult time rushing the passer last season. And so anybody they get that can make the linebacking core better overall is a great improvement. So I hope that answers your question, Bill.
Let me add this real quick with 2 things real quick. One, on the cancer topic. I mean, just because the guy that was a cancer in your locker room, like Micah Parsons, maybe he was a cancer. Maybe that's true. Let's just say, okay, fine. He was a cancer in their locker room. And this goes to Ralph's point too, though, about brain freeze. Pickens, thank you.
Yeah,
Pickens may have been a cancer in Pittsburgh for whatever reason, but when guys get to a new team, sometimes they get new attitudes. Hey, now I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I'm not in this place. So the cancer argument, I always find, no matter who the player, it's always whatever, because they get to that new team and they come in with a fresh new take, a fresh new attitude. And so that cancer thing kind of goes away, I think, overall, not in all cases, but in the majority, right? Because there have been a few where obviously that wasn't the case, but overall, it usually turns out where the guy's okay at the new place. The other thing with the cap hell and A-Dub always bringing great comments. It's not I wouldn't say it's a stretch. It is a reality, but it's a reality of it that some teams deal with better than others, right? And I don't think Green Bay has ever shown that they have the inability to deal with their cap because they've always dealt with the cap well. but it is going to affect. There is a cap held argument there because yes, it is going to affect your cap now that you're spending $47 million on a linebacker. That means other guys can't get signed. It depends, and you've already got some big contracts you gave Zach Tom the big deal this year. Of course, Jordan Love is making his big money, and that's a good thing. Your quarterback's already paid, right? But now, like, you got 2 wide receivers you got to make. And things like I think Dobbs and Watson might be gone now. We might have to look at other options. Now you've got a cheap, first rounder. So cheap is kind of a relative term, but a cheap-ish rookie contract receiver for the next 4 years until he wants to get paid. If Golden pans out, which Packer fans all expect him to do. So yeah, the question is, they're all in. Are they all in? I would say, Broski, that they are all in. And I know Lions fans are like, well, maybe they can compete. I think, I agree with Vegas. If you would have asked me, Broski, you remember last week, even as early as a couple days ago, who's going to win the division, flip the quarter? I think that's changed. I think right now the Packers probably are the favorites as of today to win the division. Broski, what do you think?
I agree. I mean, I think Michael Parsons is a game wrecker. I definitely think that makes them the favorites to win the division and definitely, improves their chances as far as winning a Super Bowl. Now, one of the things I wanted to kind of ask Ken the Packer fan and our other Packer fan on the panel is, losing Kenny Clark. So how is that going to affect your defensive tackle room? In particular, like the run stopping ability of the defensive line. Like, do you think that's now going to become an issue now, or do you think you have the guys in place to kind of make up for that?
Well, losing a player of Kenny Clark's magnitude is never easy to replace. He was a damn good player for us. My thing is he was switching back to the nose where he had generally played a lot of his career at. I want to know what we plan on doing with the nose because I don't want to move Wyatt back over to the nose. Granted, he did do decent last year as it, but I want him freed up to be the pass rushing defensive tackle. I would personally like to see us trying to use Stackhouse as the nose tackle because at least in the limited amount of preseason stuff that we saw, he seemed to be somebody that could eat up a couple of blocks. Now, what do you think about this, Jason?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 2 guys this is going to put a lot of pressure on the defensive line, obviously, are Lucas Van Ness and Devontae Wyatt. And neither Van Ness or Wyatt are run stuffers. They are pass rushers. And when you look at the depth of the roster's defensive tackle position on the right now as it stands, it's not really a lot. There's not an impact player that can step up right away. So I do think it's going to be an experiment for Green Bay. Stuffing the run will be one of their weaknesses as they march on through the season, provided they can stay relatively healthy. But yeah, again, I agree with you. I think that Stackhouse probably right now is the best bet to step up and take over for Kenny Clark.
Now, what would you think about kicking Van Ness into defensive tackle for some of these packages? Because we saw during this preseason, they were trying that out a little bit. Do you think he's got any promise there? And I just want to add one thing to what you had said, that Van Ness might not be a run stuffer, but he does play the run pretty well in the first few seasons or the first couple of seasons that he's had. Do you expect him to take another step there? Or do you think we kind of have an idea of who Van Ness is already?
I think we have an idea of who Van Ness is already, but knowing Jeff Hafley's propensity for mixing up things on the defense, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Van Ness be more of a defensive tackle type run stuffer this season. And let me go back and kind of contradict myself in a way. I think Van Ness has the talent to be a defensive tackle full time. I really do. I just don't think right now, because he has because he has the genome of being a pass rusher built into him, that's the first thing they have to work on with him is the mentality. I think he has the skill to be a great run stuffer, but you need to sear it into his mind, okay, we need you to be a run stuffer if this is what Green Bay wants to do with him. So, yeah, I think he can step up and do that, and I would love to see him do it because he's still relatively young. And, I mean, let's face it, he didn't have really an outstanding season last year, and there were already some question marks about his long-term viability on the defense. So let's move him into a different position, flip-flop him here and there, and see what he can do. I say flip the coin because now you have to. Now that you made this deal, you bring in Micah, you kind of have to flip the coin and get creative with some of these other guys on the defensive line.
So
Yeah,
Joe,
Van Ness is interesting because to me, it's like you either tell him to bulk up and add 20 pounds and kick him to the inside, or ask him to shed 10 pounds and be like, okay, you're going to be a pass rush specialist. He's kind of like in that in between right now.
Yeah.
So some quick numbers really quick. Over the cap isn't fully updated, but they do at least have Rashawn Gary on the roster for 2025, just not for 2026 yet. But for 2025, coming into the season now with Rashawn Gary added with his base salary of $7 million and his cap number of $25 million, the Packers have $1.4 million in cap this year left. They have $54 million in dead cap. So they're pretty much maxed out. They're going to be, if they need to do something, put this way, Packer fans, you're probably not buying anyone at the trade deadline, and you have very little money if someone gets injured. Now, what's his number for 26? Does anyone know is it 47 million against the cap in 26 as well?
47 or 50. I think it's 47.
Well, right, without the Micah deal, the Packers are at 29.4 million in cap space for next year. We'll just add 20 million because they already got the Kenny Clark dead money there. It's funny, but they don't have Micah's contract in there. So right now, you guys are probably negative with adding the 20 million. Would say that we're going to get added about a negative $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, somewhere in there. So those are the actual raw number guys. Now look at Mike the Bear fan was railing in the House Hall back chat yesterday because he's like, watch how much of this money is going to be converted into some kind of bonus that doesn't count against the cap. And he's been railing on this for years, and he's not wrong. Dollar spent is not necessarily a dollar against the cap because of the way these guys do the money. So, when we talk about the cap health thing, there is some trueness to it, but there are so many ways out of it. I would say out of it, mitigate it.
You can manipulate it any way you want. I mean, there's always a way in and out of that, like you said. But I wanted to talk about Bill T's comment right here. Yes, George Pickens was a cancer. If DK Metcalf, to Ken's point that he made earlier, sometimes a change of atmosphere is a good thing. Maybe George Pickens in Dallas might be good down there. And then DK Metcalf coming to Pittsburgh, from what I hear, every player in the NFL likes Mike Tomlin. So, I mean, I want to play for Mike Tomlin. So, DK Metcalf, he has Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball. So I think DK Metcalf is, from what I understand right now, everybody's getting along. So we'll see.
I mean, this trade right now, it puts the Packers in a win now thing. Their pass rush now becomes very lethal. And you know what? In this division, with the receiving core, tight end cores that these teams have just within the division alone, it's neat. It was the necessary move for Green Bay to become even more competitive than they already were. It's been an arms race in the NFC North, right? They now have a defense that can do a lot of things effectively against NFC North offenses. Now, the question is going to be, how's their offense going to suffer because of it? Maybe not this year, but next year in this arms race. And that's where the cap stuff comes into play. Look, at the NFC North is still going to be tight. This does not mean Green Bay is winning the division just because this happened. Micah is a great player, but guess what? All four teams in this division have great players and have playmakers. And with quarterbacks getting rid of the ball in 2.3 seconds or less in most cases, even Caleb, you kind of mitigate that pass rush with quarterbacks getting rid of the ball so fast, or effective running games, which Green Bay still has to address that issue because some will say that the trade, while making their pass rush better, made their rushing defense weaker.
If you look at last year's run defense grades, Micah Parsons actually had a slightly better run defense grade than Kenny Clark did. So to me, the run defense on paper is relatively going to be the same. Now, granted, in reality, removing a big defensive tackle is going to require an adjustment to it, but we're going to see how it ends up stacking up, and hopefully Stackhouse can be the one that fills that spot.
So
go ahead, Joe.
I think there's a lot of similarity in this situation to what we were just talking about with the Lions offensive line. Like a few weeks ago, we were talking about you can't lose like 2 starters, and we were calling Lions fans delusional for them saying, "Oh, our offensive line is fine. It's gonna be the same as it ever was," right? Like I don't want to come across as like I'm hating, because I think it was a great move for Green Bay, but I definitely think your rush defense just got weaker, and I think teams are going to look to exploit that. I think with that pass rush, they're going to run the ball a lot. And Kenny Clark, as much as like some people might want to act like now he's a bum because he's not a Packer anymore, the dude was he was a Pro Bowl player. And I'm not saying you, Ken, because you gave him his flowers, but yesterday on the NFC North trash talk thing, I saw a lot of people basically calling Kenny Clark a washed bum and this and that, like. And I'm just saying, dude, like, I think there's going to be
let's be fair, though, Joe, because when the Bears trade Roquan, the same thing happened with some Bears fans. And anytime a player leaves or is traded or leaves via free agency, especially you see this in the sports mem collection realm, it's a fire sale. Oh, like when Roquan was gone, everyone sold Roquan stuff. Their Roquan. Even though across sports, when Albert Pujols left the Cardinals, people were burning his jerseys in the streets.
That's the stuff I never understood.
Yeah, I wasn't saying this to crap on Packers fans, because they're no different than any other fans. I was merely pointing out that I think that the loss of Kenny Clark is going to impact your run defense more than you might think. And so I think if there's one weakness on that defense, I think it's your run defense.
It's definitely something that's going to have to be proven. But I wonder, another step that might mitigate it is we have kicked Rashawn Gary inside before on multiple downs. I wouldn't be surprised if we try that with Rashawn Gary too, because Rashawn Gary is damn good against the run.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'll say this. I'm not. Van Ness was like, why so much negativity? I don't think we're trying to be negative here, because we're all saying, look, this makes Green Bay a lot better overall, because it also does this. While it addresses the one thing a lot of Packer fans, like Bears fans, wanted to see addressed was the pass rush. Dude, this also helps their secondary, which a lot of people outside of Green Bay thought was suspect. Because guess what? Quarterbacks now are going to have to get rid of the ball faster, because they got this guy named Micah Parsons sniffing around trying to get them. And that now helps that weaken the secondary, or the secondary a lot of people thought now looks a lot better.
And then with us having the good safeties that we do, you might be getting a lot more errant balls picked off from the safety tandem that we have, with how quick they're going to have to get these passes out. What were you going to say, Broski?
Yeah, I was going to say another twist to this. Another special thing about Michael Parsons is, let's not forget, he was a linebacker his entire career up until about 2 years ago. He officially switched to defensive end, so he could still play standing up. He could actually play linebacker. You could actually run packages where you do have Gary and Van Ness lining up at D end, and Parsons just roaming around.
Yeah, I was just talking to some Packer guys before this show here, that I was wondering if Hafley was going to put out a package where you have Quay, Cooper, and then Micah Parsons is the linebacking unit.
Yeah, they'll call that unit Get Some.
There was another comment I want to get up to here really quick, guys. I'm trying to find it. Basically, it's here we go. Does it hurt the? I just lost it. Does it hurt the? Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah, this is it right here. Okay. So the Micah trade, does it hurt the Bears or the Vikings? And you got to add the Lions in there. Which team does it hurt the most? I think it hurts us all equally, to be honest with you. I mean, the Lions all three teams have, and the Lions all three teams have. I don't know about the Bears O-line yet, because we haven't seen this new line tested, but it's significantly been upgraded, at least financially speaking, from like 30th to 6th in the league. For the Vikings, same thing. They haven't maybe made as many upgrades. They've done some upgrading. And for the Lions, I mean, they got some new pieces in their line too. So I think it affects every team in this division equally. Now the question is, look, this isn't a silver bullet that now the Packers are destined to win everything. It just makes them even more competitive than they already were, and it makes the other teams have to adjust to it. right? So that means what you thought you might be doing in week 1 against the Packers, if you're Detroit, guess what? Your game plan just shifted, right? A little bit. So, because they're going to run anyways. That's the Lions. They're going to run, those two guys all day. But I mean, it is going to shift the plans. Could the Packers not win the division? Most definitely. Could the Packers finish in the basement with 9 wins? It's possible. I don't see it happening now, but it's possible because this division overall is a very talented division. The mindset we have to remember, this isn't the NFC North of, let's say, a decade ago, where the Packers were above, they were the best of the worst, and there was a big gap between. All 4 of these teams are pretty darn close in terms of talent. This brings the Packers' talent level way up from where it was, but they were the weakest team in the division talent-wise to the other 3 to begin with. So this brings them way up. I don't know if it makes them the most talented team in the division. That's now something that can be debated really well. But you know what I'm saying? So all the teams, I think, are impacted the same way within the division. It makes this division that much tougher. And it makes Dallas just look stupid because, honestly, Jerry could have gone to the Raiders and gotten so much more. He could have gone to a lot of other teams. He could have gone to Pittsburgh and gotten more.
Speaking of that, Ken, I think we got a live look at what happened during that trade.
I was going to say another team that makes look stupid is the Lions because, all you hear is, these guys are sitting on $40 million in cap space going into each season. And like we just discussed, you can manipulate the cap any way you want. So I'm not buying this, we got to sit on all that cap to resign all these good young players we have coming up. It's like, no, Brad Holmes, you need to push your limits a little, bud. Like you need to figure some things out and make it work. If you truly think you have a Super Bowl window, you need to go all in and make a move like this. So, I mean, I got to give, the Packers some credit for doing it.
Tons of credit.
And we'll see what happens, man,
And I'll say this, and look at my buddies over at C&G, and they used to be on House way back when, but they got on yesterday right after this trade, and they were hot, and they were pissed at Ryan Poles. They're like, well, how the hell do you let this happen, Ryan Poles? How, and I agree with their sentiment to a certain degree. I like Ryan Poles as our GM. But how the fuck, Ryan Poles, do you not get in on this and try to do something? I mean, there's not a Bears fan out there who would have said, yeah, give up the 2 first-rounders and a player, right? I mean, you could have done Tremaine Edmonds and we would have done somersaults. So there's some with no, so it's hold on, Ken, real quick. So Broski, it's not just the Lions who we should be going, what the hell? Chicago, what the fuck? Why didn't you try to get on this? Minnesota fans should be going, yeah, Quezzy, what the hell? How are you going to let this happen in Green Bay? And why are we not hearing? And for all 3 teams in the North, why the hell are we not hearing any reports of any of the other teams in the North trying to get in on this deal and making it happen for them? And why are you letting Green Bay do it? Go ahead.
Well,
it's a tough division there. Why in the world would you do that? Like you said, Ken, and you're exactly correct on that.
And apparently the whole reason that Jerry traded him to Green Bay is because he specifically wanted Kenny Clark. That was the major selling point of the deal for him.
Well, I get that, but but that's not the point I was making, though, Ken. The point is, why are we not hearing that Detroit, Chicago, or Minnesota were making offers?
Yeah,
we're not.
So I think the reason for that is the Bears. They're more than a 1-year fix. It's going to take a couple of seasons, so they're not one player away. Not saying that getting Michael Parsons definitely, wins the Super Bowl for Green Bay, but I'm just saying I think there's a little more work to be done in Chicago. The Vikings, look at the Vikings. They went out, they got Allen, they got Hargrave. They still have that draft pick, that kid from last year they drafted high, that defensive end, name's escaping me right now. And they already have a couple good, edge rushers. So I kind of get it from the Bears and Vikings perspective. No excuse for the Lions. Like, it's astonishing the cope of Lions fans making excuses for Brad Holmes the last couple of seasons. It's amazing to me.
And look at, Broski, I kind of look at the Bears kind of like when Theo Epstein took over the Cubs, right? He said, "Hey, give me 5 years. It's a 5-year plan." I don't know why in sports like teams aren't willing to wait 3, 4, 5 years, and that's probably like you said, Broski. We're probably a year or so away from a 5-year plan or so, and maybe it didn't make sense for what they have mapped out. And look, the talent level in Chicago is good. Now Booker's out on the IR, by the way, until we won't see him the week 6 in Chicago. So I don't know if you saw that, Broski, but I agree with you there as well. But Lions fans, I agree as well. Like, and they're talking, man, trash right now because, well, they're butthurt, and I get it. But guys, in Detroit, you have $40-some million in cap space. You had stuff. You could have gotten it, tried to get in on this, and we should have at least. And I'm not saying you guys should have made the trade per se, but at least should have been in on it and trying to make some noise. And the thing is, for none of these teams in the North, we're not hearing anything. And Ken, what you say may be true, right? Which means they would have been screwed from the outset. But at least if they had made the attempt, I think that would make fan bases feel better.
Yes and no from a Packers perspective. That it was nice when we were in on all these trades in the years leading up to this. That we're in the conversation. But if you listen to Packers fans, they'd always bitch that we're always in it, but we never pulled the trigger. I think it would have been a major part of it. It's a consolation prize that you were involved, but it's not much of a consolation prize.
And Jason, building off what Ken said, for you guys, man, like I said when we opened the show, I mean, look, in the last basically 2 years, you guys spent big money in free agency, which you Packers don't normally do. You went and drafted a wide receiver in the first round, which you haven't done in 2 decades. And now you've done what Ken said. You pulled the trigger on a big trade. I mean, I think this is the part of that regime change that happened, with the board of directors. Finally, maybe letting Goody do what Goody wanted to do and was held back on. I mean, I see this as a positive thing for Green Bay with what's going on in there. Yes, there's some negative connotations as far as the cap down the road, but in the short term, this year, maybe next year and the year after, I think it's pretty much roses for you guys.
Yeah, and I'm actually to kind of answer that question, Ken. I'm going to take you back to 2022 when we lost to the Niners in the NFC divisional playoffs. It seems like that was a tough loss.
Yeah.
The reason I'm using that as the measuring stick here is because after that loss in those short 3 or 4 seasons since, it's been big expectations for Green Bay, but a short fish at the end of the fishing pole, if you catch my drift. I think the philosophy of this organization has definitely changed, and it really got amped up after we lost to the Niners in 22 in the playoffs because and for me, that started to officially happen too when they signed Josh Jacobs as a free agent, when they gave him all of that big money, because that told me from a philosophical standpoint, Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur both have been on a semi-hot seat. We've made the postseason, but we've bowed out quicker than we got in. And just a little bit of historical context here. Ed Policy, who is the Packers president, is the son of Carmen Policy. And if you guys recall, Carmen Policy is the one who shipped off Charles Haley from the Niners to the Cowboys to help Dallas get a couple more Super Bowls. And so where I'm going with this is Ed Policy knows what a rabid, loyal, and intelligent fan base the Packers are. And Ed Policy wants results. And those results are Super Bowl trophies. Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst, they have drafted well, they've developed well, but we haven't gotten over the edge. And after 2022, when we lost in the playoffs to the Niners, I started to see that philosophy start to change. So Ken, for us, like with any team, it's a win now mentality. But for the Packers, that it just heightens it because of the dynamic of our infrastructure, of our front office, and of course, because the stockholders own our team, not a Jerry Jones, not a Hunt family, but the stockholders, the fans.
Well, you mentioned the Hunt family. I have a lot of respect for the Hunt family because while he's massively a big part of that team and the operations, he stays out of the player operations piece of it. More owners need to be like the Hunts, to be honest. And I think we're starting to see I know Bears fans aren't the happiest with McCaskey's Broski, right? But I think we're starting to see the McCaskies take that more of that tact as the Hunt family does. We've seen that in the last 2 years, at least what they've said publicly. I don't know if that's necessarily is true behind the door, but more people need to be like the Hunts. And look in the comments, it's a lot of back and forth between Lions fans and Packer fans. My God, look at the huddle, the trash talk, the daily huddle, which is a lot of trash talk, which I know a lot of guys really like, is going to be off the rails today. So you guys are going to have a lot of fun there at noon today.
Oh, you better believe it, because I'm going to go full villain.
But
Hey, what did you say about Josh Jacobs?
What now? What, Joe?
What did that comment say? Somebody was said, sorry, Joe.
It's this one.
They had a chance to keep Jacobs, but they didn't want to spend the money, and the Packers just paid more. Why are you sorry to say that? You stated a fact.
He just needs to talk some trash to you, that's all. Here's the thing. The bottom line is this is a good trade. And, yeah, look at Lions fans and other detractors say, yeah, but Parsons has an ankle injury history, blah, 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 blah. Now he's playing at grass. Oh, my God. Freak out. He was a cancer in Dallas, whatever. He's healthy. He's playing. You can take whatever attitude he had in Dallas and probably chuck it out the door. He's obviously very happy. If anyone saw the video of him yesterday, to be in Green Bay. Packer fans should be happy. They should be talking some shit because they just made probably the biggest move that they've made in 3 decades trade-wise, right? At least 3 decades. So they have the right. Lions fans, you're still in the hunt. No one's saying you're going to lose 14 games now or something stupid like that. But this was not you're going to be your division this year anyways. You're going to have to fight for it. This just made the fight even harder. Chicago, I kind of agree with what Broski said. The Bears aren't there yet to make a trade like this. I mean, Bears fans always want whoever the free agent, every big free agent was tied to Chicago this year, whatever. I like what the Bears are building. They're still going to be competitive. They can still win a lot of games. They can still beat Green Bay. Just because Micah Parsons is added doesn't mean Green Bay automatically wins games, because you can still beat Green Bay. They're off the task form. If you have a good defense, which, oh, by the way, all the other teams in the North do have good defenses, you can win games. Micah Parsons by himself does not mean that you're all of a sudden losing games. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, Ken. I saw another question here to me in the comment, and I believe that question was, who do I think has more to prove at quarter? This is on quarterback, at the quarterback position. Who do I think has more to prove, Justin Herbert or Jordan Love? That's a no-brainer. It's Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Look, Justin Herbert's already proven that he can play quarterback. In my estimation right now, Justin Herbert is a top 5 quarterback in this league in no discernible order. He's a top 5 quarterback in this league, given the talent that he's played with in L.A. Jordan Love has a lot more to prove. Jordan is talented. I've seen him play at the high school level because he played not too far down the street from where I live in the central San Joaquin Valley at Bakersfield Christian High. Jordan can play, but Jordan hasn't proven yet that he can carry a team on his shoulders the way that Justin Herbert can. So I do think this is, to me, offensively, this is going to be a make or break year for Jordan Love, especially since, correct me if I'm wrong here, Ken, I think he's into year 3 of that 4-year deal that Green Bay signed him to a few years ago. So for Jordan Love, you got the defense there to keep you in games. Now you got to step up your game a little more. You got to stay healthy, because last season I don't think he ever fully recovered from that MCL injury. Now's your time, Jordan. You got to quit making excuses, step your game up, and prove that you can be one of the elites.
And Jason, I've been saying that for Love. This is how a make or break year. He's got to prove he's worth the big contract he signed. Yeah. And I think this trade, in a weird way, puts an exclamation point on that. Like, now it really, people are going to be focused on him because they say you can't blame the defense.
Yeah, and I was going to add a little something about Michael Parsons. Let's not forget, he's from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, played high school football at Central Dauphin High School, and went to Penn State. Like, he's used to playing in the cold. He's used to playing on grass. And Jason, I wanted to actually mention something to you. I think you should reach out to Van Ness and tell him to either shed 10 pounds or pack on 20 pounds.
Well, believe me, Broski, if I had enough clout to do that, I would be more than happy to do that.
Hey, I just wanted to throw out there, Ken said this was a good trade. I just want to throw in the caveat. This was a good trade for the Packers. Yeah. I think Jerry Jones should check, because he has a condom hanging out of his ass.
Again, let me reiterate this.
Now, look, for the Cowboys, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. They do get 2 first-round picks to play with. They do free up a ton of, or some cap money, right? They do free up some cap money. But I mean, Yeah, I mean, today the initial, yeah, the Packers win this trade. Now we'll find out 3-4 years from now when they revisit the trade, as they always do. If one of these teams does something with it, that what happens. But I mean, yeah, the Packers, and if it's just because Jerry liked one guy, then it really makes me, well, he better be worth it, because you just gave up Micah Parsons for Gary, and yeah, you got two. Or I'm sorry, for Clark, but you got 2 first rounders to go with it, but was that price worth it? I mean, yeah, that's
that's got to be a rough one for him, because he was well liked in the community. He took part in a lot of things around there. He seemed to absolutely love being in Green Bay. This is the thing you hate about it for players like this, that built their lives in a city, and now all of a sudden, damn near without notice, it's, hey, pack your bags, you're going halfway across the country.
I mean, look, because a lot of us, a lot of the previews we've all done, a lot of us had the Cowboys like in 3rd or 4th place in this division before this trade even happened.
Yeah.
Now, if they all of a sudden win this division, or they're in 2nd place in their division and competing against the Eagles for 1st, and they look really good this year, that's going to turn some heads. And if the Packers don't win this division, or somehow end up in 3rd, or win 10 games and end up in the basement, this division, it could happen. Who knows? It's going to turn heads. I mean, we got to see the games played. I don't think the Packers are in the basement. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, if that weird thing were to happen for whatever reason, because maybe the offense doesn't shine through like now it has to, because they can't say, well, the defense anymore. Or hey, great, the Packers pass rush got great, but now teams run all over them like Mack trucks running down the highway. The trade may look different at the end of the year, but today, oh no, the Packers win it today. So yeah, I don't know, Ralph. I mean, to me, this seems like a Packers win initially.
Yeah, it is a Packers win, but I have something I want to add here. Jeff Hafley is their defensive coordinator. He was the head coach at Boston College, and also he was the defensive coordinator at Pitt under one of the coaches, and I'm trying to remember which one it was. Okay, at the University of Pittsburgh. And what happened was the University of Pittsburgh, when he was there, the defense was not all that great. So what I'm saying is, I don't know where Jeff Hafley fits in this equation here as the defensive coordinator with the Packers, but. You know what? The Packers are better in a tough division, with Minnesota and with Green Bay and everything.
Yep. Guys, it's been a heck of a day. Ken will say he saw us coming, but for the most part, I think everyone got caught a little off guard. I know I texted a buddy of mine, I served with. I said, hey, I hear there's a plane coming out of DFW. He said, oh, don't tell him something. He didn't realize the trade had happened. And I said, no, dude, he's coming to you. Oh my God. He was like, gushing. Packer fans, you should be extremely happy today. You have the right to talk a little trash today. You guys pulled off probably the biggest trade in decades for you guys, have done something that the fan base honestly has been asking for. And the rest of the division, we got to figure it out. That's it. The rest of the division got to figure it out. We can all laugh at the Cowboys, but now Green Bay is a little bit of a tougher out than they were before.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for that division, Ken, it really helps that you have a better defense and a better offense. I mean, you got Minnesota, you got Detroit, you got and who knows where the Bears are going to go this year, but you never know. I mean, it's a really tough division to play in. And,
we're getting close, boys. We're getting close, but we're getting so close, but we're out of time for today. I want to make sure I do this. Jason from Driving to the Top Productions, thank you for being with us today. Ralph, thank you for being with us. Broski, Joseph, everyone in the comments. What a great show today. I mean, it was a big deal, but great to have everyone here. Don't forget the Daily Huddle at noon is going to be just lit with the trash talk today. So hit that up. Everyone enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday for another edition of Ken and Ken. I'm sure we'll still be talking about this on some level. Guys, have a great weekend, and hopefully I'll be feeling better and won't sound like this anymore. And we'll see you next week. And as our buddy Norman always says, because you need to hear this every day, just in case you don't, I love you.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Jason.